you were done.
It has to get a flight to go back to Vegas. Thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
With us today, we have our county engineer, Jeremiah. Jeremiah is going to tell us about what's going on in Fairfield County.
All right.
With the roads.
So I kind of centered around Refugee Road here because we got a lot going on up there. We got some really good news recently, and have consistently been able to move forward with the project at a relatively faster rate than we thought we would be able to. So Refugee Road, pretty much everything from the Corp line out to about Tollgate's schools is where we're looking at here.
So when you say the Corp line, you're talking about City of Pickerington.
Yes, City of Pickerington. Pizza Hut.
I mean, I know it well, but not everybody here.
So here's the little snapshot of all the things that have been done over the years to Refugee Road, clear back to 1985, where it was paved all the way up through. This takes us to 2005, where we installed a traffic signal at Pickerington Road, and on up through current. So as you can see here, 2008, there was a traffic corridor study done by TEC Engineering. Some of the outcomes of that were implemented with 2010, the Tollgate Road Relocated Project. Things kind of went idle for a long time, and not a lot of that stuff got accomplished. Just some small items, and then in 18, we applied for some safety money through ODOT, and were awarded $2.1 million for upgrades to Refugee Road, which was huge. So that was a tremendous kickoff for us to get going, to be able to do this thing. So out of that, we kind of came up with a plan, and let me back up for just a second here. This is kind of a snapshot of those historical things. So you can kind of see as I click through this how all this stuff came to the area and where it was, and you can think about the impacts of all that. So this is way early on, back in the 90s. And then Pickerington North High School came, and it grew, and is still growing. With the traffic signal here at Education Drive, traffic signal at Pickerington in 05, traffic signal at Tollgate 2010, then 6 turn lane projects since 98. And finish up on that a little bit. So when we looked at this, we knew that because of the growth of the area, Refugee was really having a hard time handling all the traffic in the area. Get people around. There's a lot of congestion, a lot of movement, conflicts and things. So we started looking at what it was going to take to address that. And so we picked our target area, which was from Woodstock, which is about where the city limits is, out to toward Tollgate. Why did we do it? Congestion and 95 crashes from 14 to 16, and some fatalities that we all know about. The corridor, it needs upgrades. It needs pedestrian field facilities. It needs a lot of safety upgrades, whatnot. Yes, sir.
Can I ask a question on those 95 crashes?
Yeah.
I understand the date range, but is that just from Woodstock to Tollgate, the 95 crashes?
It might span just a little bit outside of that, the way we count them, but it's pretty much that. All right. So we started into this, did a traffic corridor study. Again, updated the old one that had been done 10 years prior to this. came up with a 3-stage scenario where we were looking at some short-term work. Alternative 2 brought in some intermediate work, and alternative 3 was a full-blown widening out to 5 lanes. And again, this is in the planning perspective of what we're going to do, how we're going to approach this. So both the alternative 2 and 3 included a 5-foot walk and a 10-foot multi-use path, which is consistent with previous planning. So our goal wasn't to pick one of these alternatives. What we were doing is we were looking at this more like a 3-phase thing, but we knew that some of this stuff was going to be larger than we could handle quickly. So we classified it into alternatives so that we can maybe get things to where, the alternatives are what can we do now? What can we focus on next? And what's our long-term goals? All right, so as we move forward with the study, we came to a point where we got through costs. We implemented alternative 1, kind of a phase 1, actually, where we went in, we did some restriping. We upgraded some of the signal cabinets, which allows us to program the timing a little bit different, which ultimately allows us to program the whole corridor in sequence with itself, I guess, which has a tremendous impact on how traffic flow moves. So as you can see, alternative 3, back to what I said a minute ago, we knew that when we got the 5 lanes or whatever we're going to do there, it was going to be a lot. So $17.2 million is about 6 times my annual construction budget just in the engineer's office. So that kind of project can happen without some kind of grant money and help funding it. So again, you're talking about where we upgraded our traffic impact study. All right, so what I asked our consultant to do at this point in time was take a look at the ultimate build out of the 5 lanes. And do we really need to do that? What does it say with the traffic numbers? So we did what we normally do, traffic counts. We go out there and count cars or have somebody go do it. We take that data. We also look at some projections that MORPC uses for the area. And with that stuff, we put together our analysis. Here's some of the counts that we got, in the corridor. As you can see, there's some COVID numbers missing there for obvious reasons. Kind of shows you what the increases are in each direction. Again, this is with MORPC's growth rates applied to this area, which are taking into account intel, which is a key factor. Kind of show you what some of the simulation looks like as we're working through these designs and studies. Okay, so along the way while we were looking at this is when we were awarded the $2.1 million in safety funds from the state. We had already implemented alternative 1 and done the striping and signal upgrade and whatnot. Now on alternate number 2, we got that money. We are currently in construction right now on alternative 2. It really hasn't got into the the meat of the construction yet, but it will this year. So what we're doing is we're upgrading 4 intersections. Okay, so what we're doing is we're upgrading 4 intersections, Pickerington and Refugee being the most significant. So we're going to remove as much of the skew in that intersection as we can. Skews are typically considered some type of hazard. We're going to have turn lanes in each direction, which it dearly needs. It's going to have new signal, complete new configuration as far as that goes. And that'll be part of the entire corridor and finding the signals together and whatnot. So we expect alternative 2 when we finish this up this year really have a big impact on how Refugee Road moves, because it's the point where we have all the basic upgrades done. We have the signals all timed together. The whole corridor can work and function as a unit. We're also working with Pickerington schools to come up with a plan on how we can address the school traffic at those times during the day. That's not necessarily an easy thing to deal with, but very much appreciate Pickerington schools working with us on that. Again, still a lot of focus on getting bike pedestrian facilities, connecting neighborhoods with the schools, just, all that safety kind of stuff. Here's a little bit of what we call the sensitivity analysis, where we looked at what if Intel is bigger than what we thought. So we looked at 20% additional growth, 30% additional growth, and took a look at the impacts of that on the corridor. As you can see here, again, we're working with Pickerington schools on some of the traffic circulation issues within the school and how we address that and make that better for everybody and safer. So the largest volume increases in Morpsey's growth rates are centered around Refugee and Pickerington, mainly because there's still a pretty good chunk of land available there that can be developed. And we took note of that. And as you go east out Refugee into Liberty Township, there's more and more land available. So it made sense that that's where the largest volumes were. So again, we're implementing Alternative 2 right now. We expect to see a huge improvement with that. Alternative 3, what we got to with this was we may not need 5 lanes. There's a couple of different ways to look at this. 5 lanes, straight road, nothing about that to me sounds safe or slow. And that was exactly the same reaction that ODOT had with us. So we started looking at what's called a complete streets concept, which would, implement some traffic calming features, aesthetic features, things like that. Traffic calming features, there's a lot of them, but a good example would be a roundabout. It's a traffic calming feature. I mean, it's hard to get through a roundabout if you don't slow down. It's hard. So, and that's the whole reason why the safety aspect of roundabouts is so positive, because the accidents that happen, even though there's still a lot of them, they're relatively small. They're not tragic accidents, serious accidents, things like that. So we're now taking a look at that. Where we ended up at on Refugee Road was we're likely, when we go to design it, really nail it down. We're going to have a combination of widening, multiple lanes, a combination of that with some complete streets, possibly some roundabouts involved in it to address some of the close intersections and whatnot that we have to deal with. There's configurations for peanut roundabouts that help with things like that and whatnot. So here we are. We're at the point now where we're building phase 2. We expect to see a huge change. We are working tremendously hard on phase 3. And also during that work, this was great news. We got a $1.2 million grant through our Transportation Improvement District for pedestrian facilities along the border. So we real quick decided that we didn't want to make that wait on lighting the job, but we're not even sure how we're going to finance yet. And we pulled that out, and we are looking right now at consultants how we're going to handle the design of that, and at least get a 10-foot multi-use path built on the north side. We're hoping to also build a 5-foot sidewalk on the south side. So that's all moving forward. And then we got some more good news just a week ago. We received a $2.5 million grant through Congressman Bolinger office for design and construction on Refugee Road, and that's going to be a huge player for us in the fact that we have money now to get started. We have money to do a substantial amount of the design, probably all of it, and that puts us in a position when we go after grant monies. That's a very favorable position to be in. you have your design done, you're invested in it, you're ready to go. A lot of these people, they get a warm and fuzzy when they know their money's going into construction. They know they're going to see something for that money. And it helps us all the way around. It puts us in the driver's seat. I guess is what I'm trying to say here. So I'll probably talk a little bit too long, but that's a very quick and thorough overview of what's going on with refugee and what has gone on with refugee. Anybody has any questions, I'm happy to.
Yeah, so want to thank Jeremiah and the Transportation Improvement Group. I live in the middle of that map, just off Refugee Road. I travel that section of the road every day, and it's a challenge. There were two things that I was most concerned about when we were having these conversations starting back a couple of years ago. One was, the kids that have to walk to Pickerington North High School. There's a lot of sections of Refugee Road that don't have any sidewalk at all. So they're walking through ditches, walking through people's front yards, or worse, walking on the shore of the road. There's also a section where the kids cross from the high school over to the shopping center across the street. We had a kid killed there a couple of years ago. It's just, it's not a safe way for kids to get to and be around their school. And so that was a big concern. And then with, Intel, 25 minutes to the north of this section, and with, area development that's going to be happening kind of kitty corner to Pickerington North High School, we knew that Refugee Road that was already under stress was going to fail. So Jeremiah and the TID and his whole team have done a really nice job of taking all those concerns into consideration and coming up with a plan that makes a lot of sense. First, from the safety standpoint, getting sidewalks and paths in place for the kids. And then, instead of just overdoing the widening of the road, figuring out that turn lanes placed appropriately will move traffic just as well. And so we don't put people in a place where they feel like they can drive 80 miles an hour through the middle of our town. So I just really wanted to thank Jeremiah for all his work on that.
I appreciate your support.
Mr. Davis.
No questions, thank you.
So one of the things that stuck out was that phase 3, $17.5 million
Yes.
in pre-inflation.
3 years.
Actually, longer than that, but I can't imagine what that number's going to be today. What's your anticipated number?
Well, when we did do that, we saw a little bit of what was coming. We tried to explain it much as we could in the briefing. I honestly, Dave, I think I outlined what I had my thoughts lined up to do. I believe we're going to end up with not 5 lanes, but 2 streets, combination down. And I think it's going to end up around that same number. We're just going to have less pavement there than what we're. Now, if it ends up being 5 million, that 17.2 is going to be good for it. So one last thing on that. When we do this final phase, we'll split that up into phases. I don't see a likely scenario where we're going to get roughly $20 million to go out there and build. So we're going to have to decide how we're going to phase that and come up with a strategy for that. Again, pull those pedestrian facilities out of that phase and decide to move those forward. We're working on that right now. I want to get that stuff in there as quickly as possibly get it.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you. Thank you. So the commission sets aside this time for voters and taxpayers to make public comment. Please, if you wish to do so, please approach the podium. Give your name and address, and you are limited to 3 minutes.
Gary Heinrich, 464 South Lake Road. Bet those solar panels are producing electric this morning. I have two articles that I will give you. I'm not going to read them, but I will tell you what they are. World's largest solar manufacturer to cut 1/3 of the workforce. That is Longi, who owns 49% of the new solar panel plant in Pataskala. Anyway, they're trying to cut costs because of inflation, and that's not just there, but it's in China. And then the other one is African leaders call for equity over minerals used for clean energy, and it goes on to talk about the mining of cobalt and the minerals and everything that are used in solar panels. And so those two articles. Then, since I didn't have anything else better to do in the middle of the night, I go on and read the letters that have been submitted to the commissioners concerning solar panels. The vast majority was against. There were a handful for. And people talk about the, restoring the farmland to its original condition, which is what EDF, with the solar company that's trying to do, Eastern Cottontail, talking about, well, it'll be restored back to its original, once they pull everything from the ground. Well, that's not necessarily true. And I had submitted this, I think last year sometime. This is from a soil specialist from North Carolina State University, and you can go on the commissioner's site and read the different reports and things, everything that's been submitted since we've started this mess. But since the solar company keeps saying that they'll be able to farm it afterwards, well, the assumption that farmland can simply be converted from solar production back into agricultural production is not guaranteed. Realize that clearing the land to farm often takes decades of adding fertilizer, lime, grading, and correcting the poor drainage to become highly productive. Converting solar energy production back to farmland use may result in similar situation. And it talks about when you have a solar field, the plants that are, depending on what kind of plants they plant, and whether they are able to withstand some of the toxic metals that will be in the soils. They say they aren't, but, and I also read the report from, I don't remember her name, the one that you guys hired to talk about the soil and that type of thing. Because it's basically, they don't have much in the way of studies out there yet upon the decommissioning of solar fields because there haven't been much. Okay. Anyway, go online and read the report called "Can Solar Energy Production Be Converted to Farmland?" And it can give you all kinds of information that is actually from a soil specialist, and it's very informative. He talks on both sides of it.
Thank you. Who would like to be next? Thank you all for coming. Anything on legal today?
Legal update, Commissioner.
All right, thank you. Bonnie?
All right, thank you, Commissioner. We had an opportunity to attend the Celebrate Women Conference, which is where Allison had spoke this past Friday. That theme was Dream, Dare, Deliver. And very fortunate to be able to hear Allison do the keynote delivery there. We had a number of folks from the Commissioner's office as well as others. And then there was a contingent from the Auditor's office as well. And Auditor Brown was awarded the Jane Johnson Women of Vision Award during the luncheon. So congratulations to the It was a good day to celebrate women. April is also National County Government Month, so we'll have some things going out on social media, our website. CCAO as well as NACO are helping to enforce some efforts here. First week of April, we're going to be focusing on justice and public safety. Second, economic and workforce development. the third, services for children, families, seniors, and veterans. And then lastly, that last week gets to lump all the other government services into 1 week. So just stay tuned for that. And Bennett, I think we have a picture and a video for this next part. What you putting up first, the picture or the video?
I've got two videos actually.
Oh, was Rick's a video? Okay, so let's do Rick and his phlebotomy.
Where's Rick?
Rick is on spring break with his. So the phlebotomy class finished up their 10-week program, and one of their guest stickies was Rick. Uh-oh, now we know how old he is. So this is part of the culmination of their 10-week program we're seeing here, and this class is out at the Workforce Center. She's got to be nervous doing this on him.
He's not a fan of this.
No, he's not.
This is not
He's
comfort.
I mean, who is?
he's a trooper though. I think if really given the option, he would say heck no. So you want to stick him next, Dave?
I'd be happy.
So I think that might be the instructor there helping her out a little bit. All right, how much longer is it? I think we get the gist. Okay, I think we're good. Unless you want to fast forward to the sticking.
I want to see blood.
There we go.
It's the crying.
It looks like she was successful. Get to the ground. John.
You look white as a ghost after this too. It's weird.
Were you there?
Yeah.
And they also had the Career Expo, and that was last Thursday, and that was for junior and seniors in the county. So we've got a quick video that kind of captured. Okay.
Turn your volume down.
Yeah, that's a little loud. You go, John. So thanks to the folks at Crowd Communications for helping to put that together. It was a great event, and I know if Rick was here, he would be expanding on that, but it was a success. Lastly, Department Head and Elected Official Roundtable will be next Tuesday at 1 o'clock in the Ag Center. Rashad, nope, let me do the resolutions first. Sorry, I'm skipping here. So the review packet does contain a list of the administrative approvals, and we have 22 resolutions on the agenda for the voting meeting. Just a couple of note here. We do have one authorizing the approval of 4 proclamations, and we have some folks joining us here to be recognized. So we have Fair Housing Month, Crime Victims' Rights Week, Child Abuse Prevention Month, and lastly, National County Government Month. So thanks for folks for coming out for that. We also have a resolution to approve a 1-year lease renewable space use agreement for TeenWorks at the Workforce Center, a resolution to approve an agreement with CTL Engineering to provide construction, inspection, and testing services for the engineer, a resolution to approve a service agreement for JFS with functional training services, and that's for work readiness services for eligible participants. The sheriff's office has 3 agreements on with for housing of inmates, Hocking County, City of Logan, and Perry County. And then lastly, Sheriff's Office does have a resolution to accept the donation of 2 vehicles from Canal Winchester, and those will be used as community watch vehicles. Art, budget review?
Yeah, so just going to give a short update on the sales tax. Our sales tax, we came in for March and we looked at the last quarter. Coming in relatively, the plan is about $142,000 under plan, which is about 1.8%. We're continuing to hold to the auditor's projections, and we will keep watching this and adjust as needed. Again, working with the auditor and make sure we're staying in line with what those projections are. So,
All right. Thank you, Bart. Okay, now to you, Rochelle. Calendar review and invitations received, please.
All right, thank you. Lancaster City Schools are hosting their Stay at Schools address on March 27th at 11:30 a.m. at the Stanberry Career Center. And the Health Department's District Advisory Committee meeting is March 28th at 7 p.m. at the Record Center. The Commissioner's Office received invitations for Ask the Mayor, a City of Lancaster event with Mayor Don McDaniel on April 2nd at 11 a.m. and April 4th at 6:30 p.m. Both events will be held at the main branch of the Fairfield County Library. And the Keller Market House is having a ribbon cutting ceremony on April 11th at 12 p.m. Commissioner's Office received the following correspondence: a news release from the Office of the County Auditor dated March 20th entitled "Deadline to File Complaint Against Valuation of Real Property is April 1." Correspondence regarding industrial solar projects, a FEMA letter regarding required adoption of floodplain management measures, the Lancaster Division of Police's 2023 annual report, the amended 2023 Law Enforcement Trust Fund report from the Sheriff's Office, from the Office of the Prosecuting Attorney, Kyle Witt, the 2025 appropriations for compensation of elected officials, a memo from the County Auditor regarding the creation of the updated Ohio Board of Revision Practice Handbook and online resources, the Fairfield County Auditor's Office Wins of the Week for March 21st, the Fairfield County Parks District event flyer for March and April 2024, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities March newsletter. That is it.
Thank you, Rochelle. We did have a message pop up from Teams there. Dr. Ohl was thanking county leadership for participating in the DD Celebration of Possibilities last week, as well as recognizing Dr. Brown for her award there at that particular event. That's all.
Your old business, Commissioner Fix.
Yep, thank you. So, last week, my colleagues in my absence passed the land use plan, and I'm grateful for that. We worked on that plan for over a year and made presentations around the county to all the townships and all the villages and the Farm Bureau and the school superintendents. And every night as we made that presentation, we talked about the 2 main themes that we were pursuing in the land use plan. One was to preserve the land, and the second one was to protect the taxpayers. And so when we talked about preserving the land, we talked about using density and asking the townships to change the way that they had been thinking for centuries, in that they would be willing to accept 1 home for every 2 acres or 1 home for every 5 acres, to instead find places to build with some density. And we talked about protecting the taxpayers by using that density and using tax overlays. And so when we talk about preserving the land, I think, the next logical part of the conversation is what's going on with solar. And we've been hearing now for a couple of years that there are a lot of people in our county, particularly in the areas that solar is being explored, who are not in favor of having solar in their backyard. And I certainly understand that. But from a broader perspective, when you talk about preserving the land, I think you have to look at preserving the land from the use of industrial solar. I think it makes sense as we look to try to develop land in Fairfield County in the most responsible way possible, to preserve as much land as possible for agriculture, that we also look at preserving the land from industrial solar. So I want to start a conversation today about looking at all 13 townships and saying no to industrial solar in those 13 townships. There's a process that we need to go through to make that happen. We've had 4 different townships ask us to ban solar in their township. This is the start of that process. The second part of that conversation, though, is important too, and that is protecting the taxpayers. And in this context, it's all about trying to prevent the county from being sued. We don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxpayer money being sued by a solar group that's perhaps already pretty far down the road, because we're unlikely to win that and spend a lot of money being sued. So we got to find that balance in the one part of our county that there's already been a group that's gone pretty far down the road. That's part of the conversation too. So I just wanted to start the conversation today so we could be on the record having started the conversation. Others will talk about our process and what needs to happen from a legal standpoint. Others will talk about how we protect the taxpayers by not getting sued, what that looks like. I just wanted to start the conversation. Thank you.
Commissioner David.
Yeah, I want to be careful with the conversation. The commission has, on multiple occasions, been briefed by legal, and we're aware of the opinions and counsel that we've received in that regard. I want to be a little careful with announcing any of the specifics of what legal advice we have or haven't been given, just because I think some of the actions that this commission may take will result in litigation. And I would rather not create new exhibits and new video for lawyers to be going over and over and figuring out maybe if we did something wrong along the way. I appreciate Commissioner Fix's bringing the subject up. I think it's timely. I am concerned about some projects more than others in terms of what their different positions might be in the context of the viability of litigation that we expect would be filed against us. But I'm amenable to the conversation, particularly in areas where the risk of loss in litigation, which still exists, might be less than it is in other areas.
Good. So last week I had the opportunity to attend a couple events, one being developmental disabilities. So that, just a fun event, very, very nice. And then Fairfield Hospice, that event as well. Both of those events are, very encouraging to go and listen to what's being accomplished throughout the county and those who are being provided services in a special way. So just very encouraging.
What did Ann's cookies go for in the auction?
$600.
$600.
So when you eat those cookies up there, at least $25 a piece.
Should we do a little tip basket over there?
If we go to somebody's house. Commissioner Davis, anything on new business?
No.
Commissioner Fix?
Not today, thank you.
Very good. The commissioners, if you join me above, and we will give a couple proclamations.
Commissioner, are we under some time constraint? Well, just, we have some electeds.
Oh, that's true.
It's up to you.
You're right. I should do that. Lisa, anything you'd like to?
I don't have anything to update. Thank you.
Jeremiah, you,
Well, I did, but if you don't want to take time for it, so. No, I'm good. Appreciate the opportunity to.
I'm thinking about Dr. Uhl and his comment about celebration of possibilities, which was a tremendous event. And we're going to keep that conversation going about all accessibility. We have used a self-assessment to change some of our procedures, our presentations, our artifacts. And if anybody would like to have a copy of that self-assessment for their use, I have several available. We're actually going to be creating a video later this week about how that can be helpful in improving all accessibility throughout a community in all aspects, in all sectors. On April 24th, I will be teaching a grants management class at Ohio University. It is no charge. It's just like the one that was last year. There were more than 100 people there, and we're thinking that there will be several people to attend this year as well. The Heritage Association recently honored Kurt Truax for some specialized maps he created for the Heritage Association. Just wanted to acknowledge his work. It's very interesting maps of historical nature. They're actually going to be within the Georgian and other areas. The BOR handbook is being updated as we speak. That is a statewide effort that is used in all counties. We do lead that effort. It is one of those examples where we're doing some short-term work, intensive, burdensome work in order to reduce cost in the long run. And it's also helpful to residents who would like to navigate that process and have some materials to access for that navigation of something that can be pretty complex at times. Hot off the press, we received a Tech Cred grant for 24, and we will have 17 credentials that we'll be able to obtain and have reimbursement for those. So I'm very proud of the staff for stepping up to try something new and use technology in a new way. And then the Financial Leadership Academy is something that arose from the Making Numbers Count seminar. We're going to be presenting a survey. We're going to give the whole month of April to gather information from that survey. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the roundtable perhaps, so that more people can have an awareness of that particular effort. If you haven't seen a video called Coming Home Fairfield County, it's on YouTube. You can just Google Coming Home Fairfield County. We've used it for a couple of our meeting introductions just to kind of get your mind going a little bit. It's a very inspiring song that mentions a lot of hallmarks and milestones in Fairfield County. I don't know if anybody here has seen it. Yeah, there's a few folks who have seen it. It's just a very good video and one that is very well done. And I just appreciate it for how it's built a good environment for some meetings, and wanted to share that for you all too.
Who did the video?
Well, I would have to look the name up. She's a young lady, and her father evidently is connected with the country music television, and it is a country music song. They mention things like the fair and the Fairview and various, Route 33, and it's specifically about Fairfield County. And throughout the video, Jim Gherkin is painting a watercolor, and at the end of the video, the watercolor is completed. It's just a very good short video, but it helps you keep in mind the wonderful community that we have.
Tony. John, what's going on? With what happened up at Indian Lake, that's cause to be prepared, right?
Sure, absolutely. Severe Weather Awareness Week. We did some some good outreach with that, but obviously you can see that it can happen at any time, and expecting some potential severe weather this evening, so. Just, make sure you're prepared and get information, and try not to watch my social media videos that were awkwardly filmed. Not the on with awning, that was a good, but some of the other ones, I don't know.
Well done, John.
It seemed like I was on the TV, YouTube too much.
On the YouTube? You going to the Walmart afterwards?
Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm excited to hear that the auditor's office got the tech cred grant in the IT department. We also applied for a couple staff to be able to take some training in regards to that. So hopefully we'll get that as well. And then I've been having some meetings with department heads and elected officials, and thus far they've gone well. Wherein we're talking about the data that each department holds and needs to access, and where it is, and whether or not it's stored securely, whether or not it's backed up in the way that we expect it to be. So those conversations are gone well, and I look forward to the continuing. I've got one this week with NCJDC.
I know you have something.
Sure. Just looking forward to the proclamation today for child abuse prevention. And thank you to all of the team that was able to come up this morning for that. And also just a reminder that the annual breakfast for that same purpose is in 2 weeks on April 10th at 8 o'clock at Life Church Vineyard.
So the emphasis being on child abuse prevention. That's really what it's all about, right?
Absolutely.
Let's try this again. Yeah, please.
Just briefly, I want to mention, I believe the guitarist for the Coming Home Fairfield County piece is Steve Radcliffe. Maybe his daughter, I'm not 100% sure on that, Sarah, who sings the song, available on YouTube, and it is a wonderful piece. Thank you.
So maybe we can get permission to use that as the theme song for State of the County.
Think he wants that better?
It's already thinking that way, right? Private hearing was going to be the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, when you approve your minutes, when we post them in the day before and get them ready for you to review, we actually do not know who will make the motions to approve the minutes, so we will adjust those according to what you do this morning.
Move to adopt. So if I may, I just want to make sure there's a couple references to me in the minutes from last week, particularly the motion to adjourn that I couldn't make because I wasn't here. So if we could just clean that up before we finalize them, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, would you like them represented next week and not vote on this week?
I'll leave that to my
We can, because the motion would be as corrected.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. from the Commissioners, Resolution 2024-3.26.a, a resolution authorizing the approval of proclamations.
So moved.
Discussion? So, Lonnie, we have,
Yeah, first one up is a proclamation recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. So if the CPS team can come on up, that'd be great.
just up
I'm
here.
here. Oh, you better.
You're fine.
So I'm gonna kind of read through this real quick because it's important. A proclamation recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas raising children is among our greatest responsibilities and our most profound blessings. What we give and the examples we set form cornerstones for their success. And by teaching our children to trust in themselves, we equip them with confidence, hope, and determination that can last a lifetime. Tragically, neglect and abuse erode these fundamental cornerstones for too many young ones. And the Fairfield County Protective Services Agency received 6,205 referrals in 2023 for abuse and neglect. In 2023, on average, 162 kids were in protective custody, with additional 22 children in temporary custody of kinship, as we continue to work toward reunifying them with their parents. During National Child Abuse Prevention Month, we renew our commitment to break the cycle of violence, strengthen support for all who have been affected, and empower our young people with the best we have. Whereas children deserve the protection of a loving family and caring community, this month we recommit to providing care, stability, and a brighter future for all children. And information about events and services can be found at www.fcjfs.org. Now, therefore, the Fairfield County Board of Commissioners does hereby formally declare its respect for and recognition of April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. We call upon everyone in Fairfield County to observe this month with programs and activities that increase awareness to help prevent child abuse and provide for the physical, emotional, and developmental needs of children. Thank you all very much.
Sarah, if you would come on up here, if you'd like to say a few words.
Yes, thank you so much. So obviously, thank you so much for every year recognizing, this month as Prevention Month for the kids in our community. And I just wanted to take a quick moment to share a story. I know that Prosecutor White and Cody Tatum with the Hartman House. Cody Tatum with the Hartman House have recently come up and shared some collaborative efforts that we made regarding a shared case that we had that involved a victim where the prosecutor has, recently had a successful prosecution regarding that situation. And I know they got to offer their perspective of the collaboration that it took to successfully achieve that outcome. So I just wanted to take a quick moment and share the perspective of protective services and the role that we played in that. So with any case that comes into our agency of such a sensitive subject, it is very critical that we partner with law enforcement, the prosecutor, and the Hartman House. And I just wanted to call out specifically Caitlin, if you will, just raise your hand so everyone can see you. She's hiding there in the back. Caitlin was the worker assigned to this intake. And I wanted to give you all a face. The face that showed up every day fighting for that little girl. She is the one who continued to advocate every single day for a little girl who at one point the family didn't believe. But she maintained that voice, that courage. She advocated every single day. And her advocation for this child helped successfully lead to a successful prosecution. And Caitlin has carried this with her every day for several years. She showed up for that little girl at that trial. So that little girl felt that support. But also, Caitlin's peers showed up for her at that trial. Because I think what isn't always known is the emotional turmoil and the stress that these workers every single day deal with. They do this job because they believe in it, and they do this job because they care. And because of Caitlin playing a role in that investigation, this county was successful. And so I just want to highlight, these are all the basics. To play a role in showing up every day, no matter how hard it is. It's emotionally, it's mentally challenging, but they come every single day because they believe in the work they do and the families that they support. As timing has it, Leah Miller, who is back here, we're to switch spots in a second. She actually had just sent an email on Friday, really highlighting not only the work Caitlin did for this child, but also highlighting the support that her peers gave her during this time, and also the support that the agency gave to this little girl during this trial. And so, if you don't mind, I'm just going to have Leah, the intake manager, read just a couple of the things that she had sent on Friday.
I shared some thoughts that I had right after I left my office. We congregated my office to attend a Zoom thing for the case that Sarah was referencing. And when I got home, I said I wanted to take a moment to give a shout out specifically to Caitlin Hustler and several of the other intake and assorted staff who have had some involvement and responsibility over the case over the last few years. This agency worked the case. I'll skip that part. That's what Sarah shared. These past few months, the trial has finally happened. Her abuser was found guilty and subsequently sentenced today. I've had the opportunity to hear how Caitlin was impacted by this case and so many others and by that child's plight. I've seen her peers rally around her and the child survivor to be present for various parts of the proceedings. I've seen our staff partner with community stakeholders, and it got me thinking how this case is just one of so many that we work, and one that finally came to an end in many ways that served justice, and that I couldn't help but think of so many others that don't see that out. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for choosing this work. Thank you for choosing an often thankless job. Thank you for choosing families and choosing to impact this community positively. Thank you for choosing this job despite the many traumas you yourself experience as a result of that choice. I'm not sure if it's cheesy to think about my why, but in moments like these, I can think of nothing else. My why. I chose to come to this job every day because I know that even if we don't see it with our eyes during our timeframes, this work is critical and does have positive impacts on families and my community. I know that this work can and should only be done by those who actively choose to do that for the same reason. I walk through the doors and I see people who want to be here and people who want families to be seen and heard. There are probably many other jobs that I could enjoy, but I'm called to this, and I know that so many of you are too. As I wrote this email, I was wearing a bracelet with the tiny initial that Caitlin made for many of us who are following the child survivor's trial, which I'm wearing today, and some of us are as well. I appreciate you all, and I hope that all our staff thought about their life.
Really don't receive the recognition that they certainly deserve, because it's one of the most difficult jobs we have here. I just so appreciate all you folks and your willingness and dedication for all of it. Thank you, thank you.
So we're going to sit down so that it'll be followed up with Dave. We're going to get pictures.
You're fine.
We tragedy. So we have to be.
Okay. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thanks, Dave.
Any additional discussion?
Wait, we got more. All right, so the next one we have is a proclamation recognizing April 23rd to 29th as National Crime Victims' Rights Week. I think we have some folks from the prosecutor's offices city and county. Come on up and I'll read through this. Whereas in 1982, the President's Task Force on Victims of Crime envisioned a national commitment to a more equitable and supportive response to victims. And crime can leave a lasting impact on any person, regardless of age, national origin, race, creed, religion, gender, sexual orientation, immigration, or economic or socioeconomic status. And incorporating communities, existing experts, and trusted sources of support into efforts to fully serve survivors will help develop a criminal justice system response that is truly accessible and appropriate for all victims of crime. And with the unwavering support of their communities and victim service providers behind them, survivors will be empowered to face their grief, loss, fear, anger, and hope without fear of judgment, and will feel understood, heard, and respected. And the Fairfield County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, Victim Assistance Division, and the City of Lancaster's Law Director and City Prosecutor's Office are dedicated to strengthening victims and survivors in the aftermath of crime, building resilience in our communities and our victim responders, and working for a better future for all victims and survivors. Now, therefore, Fairfield County Board of Commissioners does hereby formally proclaim April 23rd to 29th, 2024 as National Crime Victims' Rights Week. We reaffirm this county's commitment to creating a victim service and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during Crime Victims' Rights Week and throughout the year. And we express our sincere gratitude for those community members, victim service providers, and criminal justice professionals who are committed to improving our response to all victims of crime. Thank you all. Who wants to speak?
I'll speak on behalf of our county. So I lead the Victim Advocacy Division at the county level. A year ago, we were standing here and Angie and Samantha were very new to our office and very new to the felony level. They came from municipal court in other counties. And so this has been a challenging year for the three of us personally and professionally, because there's been the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And the case that you guys were all talking about was definitely one of the highest of highs. That was Samantha's very first case of ever being a victim advocate during the trial. And she slayed it. She did an amazing job. I couldn't be prouder. But we all work together as a team. We all have each other's back. And it's extremely important to us to share with all of you that this is not an easy job. This is a very emotionally exhausting job at many days. During trials, we don't sleep, we hardly eat. I mean, it's just, that's our life. Our job is not to give the case a guilty verdict or not. Our job is to be there to help support the family and the victims in the case, the survivors, and, to be their voice in the courtroom. That's kind of what we do. We could not do this without you guys. You three have been amazing to our program. You've supported us for so many years. We are so grateful to you guys. Kyle is not here today, but I will tell you, we could not ask for a better prosecutor and a boss in the office. He is absolutely amazing. Personally, I would just like to say the three of us have become grandparents this past year, so we're thrilled about all of that. So again, it's been a roller coaster year, highs of highs, lowest of lows, but we are so grateful to be here. We're grateful for what we do, and we're grateful to be able to help our victims of crime. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just briefly, thank you. So first of all, thank you to the commissioners for recognizing National Crime Victims' Rights Week. It is very important. My office, as the city prosecutor and law director, prosecutes all adult misdemeanor crimes that occur in Fairfield County. And those that occur in the county and in the villages and in the townships, we do that through contract with the county prosecutors, which we appreciate. It gives us the ability to focus on those victim crimes that take a lot more time, a lot more attention, and a lot more resources. And without that collaboration, that wouldn't be possible. So we really appreciate all of your efforts in helping crime victims. And I just want to say, honestly, the credit in my office goes to my assistant prosecutors and the victim advocates that we have from the Lighthouse. They couldn't be here this morning because they are in the courtroom. They are always in the courtroom. We have 3 courtrooms operating in the municipal court nonstop. We handle between 14,000 and 18,000 cases a year. So the volume of that unfortunately means they couldn't be here to be recognized, but I guarantee I will take this back and make them all aware that you appreciate everything that they are doing as well. Thank you.
So many times, matter of fact, if you look across the country, many times the importance of looking at the victim is not there, but that's not the case here in Fairfield County. The victim is really the focus of what it's all about. And I truly appreciate all the work that's being done in that regard.
All right, thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Got a picture.
Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Very good.
Next one we have is recognizing April as Fair Housing Month. We have folks from Habitat for Humanity and Community Action. If you guys could work your way up here while I read this. Whereas the Fair Housing Act of 1968 prohibited discrimination concerning the sale, rental, and financing of housing based on race, religion, national origin, and sex. And in 1988, Congress passed the Fair Housing Amendment Act, which expanded the Fair Housing Act to prohibit discrimination based on disability or on family status, which meant pregnant women and/or households with children under the age of 18. And more than 50 years after the passage of the Fair Housing Act, discrimination persists. And acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal housing opportunity are repugnant to a common sense of decency and fairness. And agencies such as the Lancaster Fairfield Community Action Agency and Habitat for Humanity of Southwest Ohio commit to combat all forms of housing discrimination and break down the barriers to equal housing. Now, therefore, the Fairfield County Board of Commissioners does hereby formally declare its respect for and recognition of April as Fair Housing Month. We call upon everyone in Fairfield County to observe this month with programs and activities that increase awareness and help prevent housing discrimination and to help break down equal housing barriers. Thank you both. I'm sure you both have something to say.
So yes, fair housing is very important. As we know, there is a housing crisis in general. So housing is something that we feel everyone deserves, not only somewhere to live, but a decent, safe, and stable environment to live in. So we are so grateful and appreciative of this commission and the support that they give us pretty much daily on the things that we talk about and things that are happening in this county. And we couldn't do it without the support and the community grounding to come make that happen. So thank you.
And I just say on behalf of Community Action, we appreciate the commissioners recognizing April as Fair Housing Month and your support for fair housing and for housing in general in the county, recognizing that there's needs there and recognizing that this is an area of attention and focus. Also want to mention that our Fairfield County Housing Coalition, which meets the second Thursday of every month. In April, we have an annual training on fair housing that's provided by Central Southeastern Ohio Legal Counsel. They'll be doing that on April 11th, and it's a great opportunity for all of our partners in the housing arena to come together and to get trained up and learn and continue to grow in the area of fair housing.
And a quick shout out to Regional Planning. Josh is here today. They are the entity that does administer our fair housing program for the county.
Mr. Davis.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, proclamations aren't really the sexiest part of what we do. But I think these three proclamations have kind of an undercurrent to them that's worth pointing out. That is that the commissioner's office isn't just there for these three issues on Proclamation Day. We're there on these issues constantly. We appreciate the folks that are working daily on these issues.
So, you know, how housing in general is a main factor here in Fairfield County. And then when you talk about those who have no home, then it's even much more important. And sometimes we don't think about that till we know somebody that's without housing. And so I especially appreciate Commissioner Davis's work regarding housing, and as well as Commissioner Fix's work in that regard. and everybody else involved, Habitat and Community Action, and all the other agencies that are working diligently to make a much better place in Fairfield County for those who are less fortunate. And thank you.
Step on up, we'll get a picture. One, two, three. One, two, three. Thank you.
Very good.
Can. Yeah. Commissioners Davis and Levesey, please step up to receive the proclamation. This is a proclamation recognizing April as National County Government Month. Steve, you look very happy right now. The nation's 3,143 counties serve more than 341 million Americans and provide essential services to create healthy, safe, vibrant, and economically resilient communities. And counties build infrastructure, maintain roads and bridges, administer justice, keep communities safe, run elections, provide essential social services, maintain records, and much more. Whereas Fairfield County takes pride in the responsibility to protect and enhance the health, welfare, and safety of its residents in sensible, cost-effective ways. And each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to actively promote their own programs and services to the public they serve. Now, therefore, the Fairfield County Board of Commissioners does hereby formally declare its respect for and recognition of April as National County Government Month. We call upon everyone in Fairfield County to observe Fairfield County programs and services and increase awareness and understanding of the role of county government. So if we could have our remaining countywide elected officials join us up here, because this is about all countywide elected officials. Come on up, we'll get a picture. Yes, that's the two of you. Dan, you get to hold that.
Let's make comments too. I mentioned earlier the proclamations weren't the sexiest part of what we do. On further thought, I move to share that there is no sexy part.
If we get all of our names up here too.
So, many times I often think, how our county government as well as township and government is formed. It's a pretty unique way that it functions. And those who came hundreds of years before us, they did a pretty good job, because how it all works is effective, and that's really what it's all about.
So we need Ani and Jeff up here too. I just want to add, the reason I ask that we do this is because of the depth and breadth of all the things we do. We get asked so often, what does a county commissioner do? And it's really hard to put it into an elevator speech, because there are 13 elected officials. There are 20 some boards that we appoint to. And, there's just, we have 9 direct reports up here. There's so much that we do. We touch so many different things. So I think it's important to recognize the work that all these folks do to make the 3 of us up here look good, at least as good as they can. So thank you all very much. Let's get a picture. Two, three. All right, thank you. We're going to Photoshop Jeremiah in. He's out in the hallway on a phone.
So, any additional discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yeah.
Commissioner Levis?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From the Commissioners' Resolution 2024-3.26.b, a resolution approving to appropriate from unappropriated in a major expenditure object category relating to the American Rescue Plan Fiscal Recovery Fund number 2876.
We're Fairfield County Commissioner. I move items B, C, and D.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities, Resolution 2024-3.26.e, A resolution to approve additional appropriations by appropriating from unappropriated into a major expense object category, Fund 2060.
Under Board of Development and Disabilities, I move items E and F.
Discussion?
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yeah.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Economic and Workforce Development, Resolution 2024-3.26.g. Approval for a one-year renewal of the space use agreement between Fairfield County Commissioners and Teamworks LLC at the Fairfield County Workforce Center.
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
The renewal of this agreement, it works out very well having this particular organization at the Workforce Center for those that they're serving.
Additional discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yeah.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. For Fairfield County Emergency Management Agency, Resolution 2024-3.26.h. A resolution authorizing the reduction of appropriations and major expenditure object categories for the EMA Fund 2707 Emergency Management Performance Grant and account-to-account transfer.
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yeah.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From the Fairfield County Engineer, Resolution 2024-3.26.i. A resolution to approve an agreement between Fairfield County and CTL Engineering Incorporated.
Under County Engineer, move items I, J, K, L, and M.
Discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. In Fairfield County Family and Children First Council, Resolution 2024-3.26.n. A resolution approving an account-to-account transfer into a major expenditure object category, Fund 7521.
Under Fairfield County Family and Children First Council, I move items N, O, and P.
Discussion?
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yeah.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Job and Family Services, Resolution 2024-3.26.q. A resolution regarding a service agreement between Functional Training Services Incorporated and Job and Family Services.
So moved.
Discussion?
The contract for the Comprehensive Case Management Employment Program.
Additional discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From the Fairfield County Sheriff, Resolution 2024-3.26.r. A resolution authorizing the acceptance of 2 donated vehicles from the City of Canal Winchester.
Under Fairfield County Sheriff, I move items R, S, T, and U.
Discussion? Call, please.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. Payment of bills, Resolution 2024-3.26.b. A resolution authorizing the approval of payment of invoices for departments that need Board of Commissioners approval.
So moved.
Discussion?
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. The next regular meeting is scheduled for April 2nd at 9 a.m.
Any? Please.
I'm told by staff that Bennett has been able to pull up the song that was referenced earlier. And I thought maybe people would enjoy that.
was really cool.
Yeah.
Well done.
Very nice. Better.
Well done. Thanks, Carrie, for pointing that out. If I may,
Please.
I just wanted to recognize Violet Township trustee and the president of our Fairfield County Township Association, Darren Monholland, sitting there in the back. I appreciate you coming down today and appreciate all the work you're doing with the Township Association. They've been really integral in helping us figure out this land use plan. So thank you.
Nice. Any additional item to come before the Fairfield County Board of Commissioners at this time? Go ahead.
Say one thing. Well, the song kind of got me. Everybody's going to miss those things if we don't protect our land. And Jeff, I appreciate you saying we're going to start the conversation. And Steve saying we don't want lawsuits. But we, the people, are standing up. And you have 5 townships that have written resolutions and been presented. You have a 6th one that is still awaiting word from the prosecutor's office on some wording. Otherwise, theirs would have been presented several weeks ago. We cannot, the solar companies will threaten. They will try to pay people off. They will threaten lawsuits and everything else, but it's ultimately up to the Ohio Power Siting Board and you and us. And if we don't do things now, write a resolution for those 5 or 6 townships now, just like Claremont County and 27 other counties in the state of Ohio, because last year at this time there were 10. Now there are 28. They're doing it. We can do it too. We cannot sit by and wait because it's going to be too late.
Gary, I thought you were going to talk about that song.
I did. That's why I'm.
You know, additional item come before the Board of Commissioners this time.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. You're adjourned.